Miraculous blessing revealed. A sacred purpose beyond your expectations in just 40 days. In the quaint English village of Hawthorne, where rolling hills kissed the horizon, whispers of a miraculous blessing began to circulate. It was said that a devoted grandmother named Margaret, a stalwart of faith, would uncover a sacred purpose beyond her expectations in just 40 days. As the sun dipped behind the hills, illuminating joyous flowerbeds, hope bloomed in the hearts of the village, blooming fervent prayers like petals in spring. Margaret's infectious laughter and warm embrace had always brought light into the lives of others. But now, her soft smile was clouded by a recent diagnosis of a rare illness. Concern rippled through her family and the tight-knit church community, who, in unified devotion, began invoking the intercession of St. Jude, the patron saint of lost causes. Every evening, passionate prayers filled the air, rising like incense spiraling toward heaven. Candle flames flickered as if alive, promising divine intervention as the days passed and Margaret's health declined. An ever-thickening veil of despair loomed over her loved ones. Their unwavering faith was tested, burdened by doubt and uncertainty. It was then that the village pastor, a man of profound compassion, organized a candlelit vigil at the local chapel on the eve of St. Jude's feast day. "Join us in fervent prayer," he invited, his voice echoing with sincerity. "Let us come together and cast our worries upon the Lord." With the chapel aglow in the dim evening light, families gathered, eyes glistening with hope. Yet, amidst the hushed prayers and flickering flames, Margaret found herself ensnared by doubt. Surrounded by her family's love, her heart grappled with feelings of inadequacy. Had her life truly aligned with God's purpose? As uncertainty built like dark clouds, she felt a weight in her chest. Suddenly, as if the heavens had opened, a stranger entered the chapel. His presence was captivating, an air of divine authority surrounding him. He strode purposefully toward Margaret, his eyes piercing through the layers of despair. "In 40 days, a miraculous blessing will unfold, a purpose greater than you expect." His voice rang out clearly, cutting through the murmurs of prayer, igniting a spark of hope among the crowd. Yet, the community was divided. Some clung to this prophecy with eager hearts, while others wrestled with skepticism, whispering doubts amongst themselves. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the days unfolded like petals upon a bloom, Margaret embarked on a personal journey of faith. Alongside her family, she began to pray not just for healing, but for a profound understanding of the divine purpose behind her suffering. Miracles of the mundane intertwined with the miraculous. A stranger's kind word, laughter shared among friends, and the gentle rustling of leaves as if nature herself rejoiced. Each day, small miracles warmed her heart, instilling joy and light. On the 40th day, with the sun peeking over the hills, the chapel brimmed with anticipation. Margaret gathered with her family and community once more, hearts intertwined in desperate hope. As they sang praises, a shift occurred within her, a profound revelation hinting at a grander plan than she could ever imagine. The air thrummed with expectancy, the congregation holding their breath, ready for the divine to reveal itself. Would the blessing come? And what sacred purpose did God hold for her life? Only time would unveil this divine mystery, leaving the congregation teetering on the edge of their faith, eagerly awaiting the next chapter in Margaret's journey. As the chapel bells rang out the morning of the 40th day, a sense of holy anticipation settled over Hawthorne. The air was charged, alive with expectation, tangible like the first light of dawn. Margaret's family arrived in a flurry of love, donning their finest clothes, each one hoping that the day would bear witness to something extraordinary. The scent of fresh blooms lingered, a sweet aroma that entwined with the sound of laughter and whispered prayers, Inside, the chapel shimmered with candlelight, casting a warm glow that danced along the wooden beams. Each flickering flame held the stories of prayers offered, tears shed, and hope renewed. As Margaret took her place, her hands clasped tightly, she felt the weight of her loved ones beside her. In that moment, she knew she was not alone. A community bound by faith surrounded her, their collective strength creating an invisible shield against doubt and fear. The pastor stepped forward, his warm smile infusing the space with a palpable peace. Today, we gather not only to celebrate hope, but to embrace whatever God has in store for us, he announced, his eyes glimmering with enthusiasm. Let us open our hearts and minds to his will. As he spoke, Margaret found herself reflecting on the last 40 days. Surely, she had been blessed in ways she had yet to recognize. The simple kindnesses of neighbors, the unexpected laughter from her grandchildren, and the gentle presence of the parishioners, these were the miracles gently woven into her journey. The congregation began to sing, their voices rising like incense, lifting up every doubt to the heavens. Within her heart, a quiet resolve grew. Margaret closed her eyes, envisioning her folder of unanswered questions, pulling it ever so carefully from the depths of her spirit. Would healing come? Would she find her divine purpose? The answers seemed just out of reach, fluttering like the wings of a dove. Yet, she chose to release her concerns, casting them before God as her family continued in fervent prayer. A hush fell over the chapel as the pastor invited everyone to quiet reflection. Moments passed, stretching out like long shadows, and in the stillness, Margaret felt something shift within her. She opened her heart wide, allowing a wave of gratitude for her life to wash over her. The memories swirled her wedding day, the birth of her children, the uncountable hours spent in laughter and tears, all leading her to this sacred moment. Just then, a gentle breeze swept through the chapel, rustling the curtains and causing the candle flames to flicker wildly. Gasps rippled through the congregation, eyes darting toward the source of the movement, their breaths held in anticipation. And that was when she saw him, the same stranger from the night of the vigil, standing just beyond the altar. His presence radiated peace, and the light around him sparkled with a heavenly glow. Margaret's heart raced as he raised his hand, his eyes locking onto hers. Fear not. His voice resonated softly, yet filling the space with authority. For the purpose you seek is found not just in the healing of your body, but in the transformation of your spirit. Open your heart and embrace the unknown that awaits you. Tears streamed down her face. Could it be? Was this the revelation she had been waiting for? A sense of belonging washed over her, igniting a spark of understanding deep within. She felt the collective heartbeat of the chapel, each soul present yearning for their own connection to the divine, as if sensing their wonder. The stranger turned to the crowd and smiled. Miracles take many forms, he declared, but true blessings lie in the love you share. The weight of the moment hung thick in the air, hearts racing with the possibilities of what was to come. Margaret pondered, what would the next steps hold? What further depths of faith would be called upon? As the sun broke through the chapel windows, casting a radiant glow, Margaret felt a profound peace, yet a thrilling uncertainty tugged at her spirit. What could this unfold into? The answer hovered in the air, a divine mystery just waiting to be uncovered. The atmosphere inside the chapel remained electric, as if the very air vibrated with expectation. Margaret sat in rapt attention, her heart a mix of hope and trepidation. The strange figure, no longer an enigma but a beacon of divine light, held everyone's gaze. Such certainty in his voice allowed a seed of courage to take root in her heart. She leaned forward, eager to grasp the fullness of his message. The pastor, standing just behind the stranger, seemed to sense the charged energy. He began to lead the congregation in prayer once more, his voice rising and falling like the gentle waves of a serene sea. Lord, we come to you with open hearts, he prayed fervently. Guide us, guide Margaret, and reveal your purpose today. Margaret's own voice joined the chorus, albeit silently. She prayed not for her own healing, but for understanding. What was this transformative journey the stranger had spoken of? In the midst of shared spiritual connection, her mind drifted to her family. They had witnessed her struggles, bearing the burden of her sickness alongside her. The thought stirred something deep within her, the realization that her healing might transcend personal restoration. As if responding to her inner turmoil, the stranger stepped closer. "Each of you carries a treasure within," he spoke softly, yet his words were unwavering. "Every one of you will discover that the trials you face are not without purpose. The dance of life has many steps, some light, some heavy. It is in this rhythm that we grow." A murmur of agreement rippled through the congregation. Many nodded. A few whispered prayers of affirmation, their eyes glistening. For the first time, Margaret felt more than just a longing for physical healing. She yearned for a deeper connection, a purpose that entwined her journey with those around her, and that sacred moment of revelation. She saw her grandchildren playing, her children supporting one another, her friends' unwavering faith surrounding her like a warm blanket. The stranger appeared to read her thoughts, for he smiled knowingly. "As you embrace your journey, so too will they embrace theirs. You are a vine, and they are the branches connected to you." Tears of joy filled Margaret's eyes, the truth resonating within her. Salvation takes many forms. It is often unexpected. In her heart, she began to see the beauty of transformation not merely in her own life but rippling out, touching her whole family and community. The pastor, feeling the shift among his flock, called out, "Let us share our journeys, the good and the difficult. For in our stories we find the fibers that bind us." He gestured for anyone who felt moved to stand and speak. A gentle wave of vulnerability swept through the chapel as a young mother rose to share her struggles with her health. Others followed suit, each voice adding another layer of connection, weaving a rich tapestry of shared experience. Margaret observed the bravery surrounding her, a reflection of the heart of God at work. Strangers became friends. Friends became intertwined souls searching for hope and resilience. As the afternoon sunlight streamed through the stained glass, casting colorful patterns upon the chapel floor, a hush set in once more. The stranger took Margaret's hand, his touch grounding her in the moment. "Your purpose is unfolding, dear one. In the days to come, trust that what lies ahead is a part of a greater design. And when the moment calls, you shall find strength beyond your understanding." Margaret nodded, feeling a blend of fear and excitement dance within her. What lay ahead could build upon the daily intricacies of life, both miracle and mystery combined. Hope was alive, pulsing through the chapel, and she felt ready to step forward into whatever was to come. As the final prayer was uttered and the congregation began to silence into reflection, Margaret's heart swelled with questions. Would she finally grasp her purpose? Would she step boldly into her transformation, heart open wide? With the stranger's radiant presence lingering in her mind and heart, she couldn't shake the feeling that the next chapter of her life was just beginning. What brave encounters awaited her? A hush hung in the air, thick with anticipation. The dim light of the chapel flickered softly, creating dancing shadows that mirrored the inner stirring of the congregation. Margaret's heart raced, anticipation mingling with questions that tugged at her spirit. The stranger, still a radiant presence, gently released her hand. Every eye in the room remained fixed upon him, as if awaiting the next piece of this intricate puzzle. He leaned forward slightly, a warm smile on his lips. In the dance of life, there is a rhythm that many of us miss. It is a divine cadence, a whisper in the chaos. As you step forward, you will learn to discern this sacred music. Margaret could feel the weight of the moment. She wanted to lean in, to catch each word as if it were a rare jewel. What does this rhythm sound like? She pondered silently. Would she be able to hear it amidst her worries? Would her soul find the stillness it needed to listen? Just then, a young boy no more than 8 years old stood up at the very back of the chapel. His small frame seemed to radiate courage. "My mom says that when we pray, we should listen too." His voice rang out, simple yet profound, cutting through the silence. "I want to learn to dance with God," like the stranger said. A wave of soft laughter and tender-hearted murmurings washed over the congregation. In that moment, the ice of uncertainty began to crack. The warmth of understanding brightened the room. This little boy had not only connected with the stranger's words, but had also tapped into the childlike faith that often eluded adults. Exactly, the stranger exclaimed, clearly moved. To dance with God, you need to be open to his movements, his whispers. Often, they come in the quiet moments, in those still places where doubt and fear retreat. He cast a knowing glance toward Margaret, a guiding light shining in his eyes. Margaret felt her heart leap. Could it be that simple? She wondered. In the quiet of her mind, she found herself reflecting on the times she had rushed through silent prayers, seeking answers instead of resting in the presence of the divine. The pastor looked around, sensing the spirit of connection blooming. Let us take a moment to listen. Let us embrace the quiet and try to hear the rhythm of our lives. He gestured for the congregation to close their eyes. Margaret closed hers tightly, and in the hushed silence, she felt something shift within her. Sound pulsed softly in the background, a gentle humming like a heartbeat. The world around her faded, and she surrendered herself to that sweet resonance. For the first time, she felt not alone but surrounded by the love of her family, friends, and even those she had yet to meet on this journey. When the pastor finally urged everyone to slowly open their eyes, Margaret felt as if she had awoken from a dream. Faces illuminated by hope surrounded her. She looked to the stranger, whose gaze seemed to speak of new beginnings. Your purpose is intertwined with others, he reminded the room. In the weeks ahead, prepare for the miracles that will unveil in unexpected places. The moment hung like a delicate balance. Would she trust this unfolding plan? Would she allow herself to be transformed by the connection and love all around her? As the service began to draw to a close, Margaret lingered in that delicate space between excitement and fear. She had been gifted a taste of potential, yet uncertainty brewed. How would she step forward? And who would join her on this journey of faith and discovery? With these questions echoing in her heart, she felt an undeniable pull, a beckoning toward the horizon of her life, teeming with promise. What miracles lay ahead, waiting for her to embrace and share? Margaret stepped out of the chapel into the cool evening air, the colors of the sunset bathing the world in a golden hue. Her heart was a tapestry of emotions, wonder mingled with lingering doubt. The stranger's words echoed in her mind, each phrase glimmering like a star. She felt a warmth spread within her, a flicker of hope pushing against the shadows that had so often clouded her spirit. As she walked home, shadows lengthened around her, the trees whispering ancient secrets in the soft breeze. What purpose could be entwined with my life? She mused. The thought both excited and terrified her. She had always played it safe, her life a careful pattern of routine. But tonight had shaken her foundation. Could she dance with God as the boy had so innocently desired? The first few moments at home were filled with familiar chaos. Her children greeted her with shouts of delight, their laughter blending harmoniously with the aroma of dinner simmering on the stove. Yet, beneath that joyful facade, she felt a stirring within, a call to dig deeper. "Mom, we missed you," cheered her daughter, running to envelop her in a tight hug. Laughing, Margaret swept her into her arms, fortified just by the simple love of her children. After dinner, as her family settled into the living room, Margaret slipped away to her small study nook, a place brimming with old books and treasured photographs. She sat in silence, closed her eyes, and focused on her breath, seeking that calming rhythm, a heartbeat of connection. In the stillness, the world began to melt away, a soft wind swirled around her, and the distant sounds of her children playing faded. In the quiet, she sensed it, a gentle whisper wrapped in love, urging her to embrace the unknown. "Trust, Margaret," it seemed to say. "Step into the dance." Suddenly, her mind flooded with images, faces of friends she had drifted from, neighbors she had hardly spoken to, and even families in her community who were struggling. What if she reached out? Her heart quickened with potential. What if they could all step forward together, embracing connection and purpose? That little boy's heartfelt prayer emerged into her thoughts again. Hadn't he witnessed the truth? In her heart, she felt the stirrings of a mission, a calling to foster community in ways she had never imagined. As she opened her eyes, she was greeted by a golden light spilling into the room, illuminating the small desk where she sat. It felt like an affirmation, as if the divine was affirming her emerging purpose. With newfound clarity, she decided to organize a space where the community could unite, share stories, and explore their faith together. Yet, as excitement mounted, questions crept in. Would they respond? Would she be able to lead? No sooner did those uncertainties arise than she felt a gentle reassurance wash over her, embracing the process was part of the journey. Her heart raced with an intoxicating mix of hope and trepidation. As she hurried back to join her family, the vision of what was possible became vivid. She imagined laughter and shared meals, joy swelling as hearts opened. But somewhere in that chaotic joy, she hesitated. Was she ready for such a leap of faith? And what if it didn't go as planned? The path ahead was shrouded in divine mystery, each step holding the potential for miracles. What awaited her on this journey? Who would join her in this sacred dance of life? As the evening stretched on, Margaret tucked her children into bed, whispering a prayer for guidance and courage. Little did she know, a deeper transformation was dawning just beyond the horizon. What would the next chapter reveal? The night wrapped around Margaret like a thick blanket, its stillness inviting her thoughts to swirl deeper into that sacred space burgeoning within her. She lay awake, thoughts racing like leaves caught in a gust of wind. The gathering she envisioned pinned down excitement in her chest. She could almost hear the laughter of familiar voices and the soft rustle of prayerful whispers filling the air. But piercing that serenity were worries that crept in like shadows, darkening her heart. Who am I to lead? She thought, grappling with doubt. What if I fail to inspire? What if no one comes? Each question tugged at her spirit. Yet, beneath those worries, another voice rose, a quiet, resilient tone reminding her of the joy that bloomed from vulnerability and truth. In the early hours of the morning, as dawn peeked shyly over the horizon, Margaret felt a profound stirring within her. The golden rays of light filtering through the curtains danced across her face. It felt as if divine hands were gently beckoning her to rise, to step beyond her fears. With a sensitivity she had rarely summoned, Margaret reached for her notebook, the one crammed with half-formed ideas and doodles, dreams waiting for wings. She began to jot down the details of her vision, a community gathering, an opportunity to come together under one roof. She wrote of laughter, shared meals, and the warmth of intertwined stories. Every word hummed with a sacred energy, igniting her passion like a flame stoking itself. Then, as if urged by a mystical current, she penned an invitation to her neighbors. Together, let us create a space of connection and grace. Join me next Sunday evening. She could feel each stroke of the pen as a step toward fulfillment of her calling, warmth spilling into the corners of her heart, pushing aside lingering shadows. Before slipping into the rush of daily life, Margaret paused to bathe in a moment of gratitude. She breathed in the crisp morning air, letting it fill her lungs and bolster her resolve. Lord, she whispered, let me serve as a bridge to those who seek connection. Days sped by like the swirling of autumn leaves. As the date of the gathering approached, anticipation flickered within her like candles set aglow. She found herself drawn to the chapel, feeling an undeniable pull towards prayer and reflection. Beholding the worn wooden pews, Margaret felt a wave of reassurance wash over her. In that sacred space, she surrendered her doubts to God, asking for clarity, strength, and courage. When Sunday finally arrived, nerves danced in her stomach, fluttering wildly. What if no one came? But as she set up the hall, arranging chairs, placing flowers on the tables, a stillness enveloped her. She was preparing not just for a gathering, but for a divine rendezvous. The faint sound of laughter from the children playing outside reminded her of the beauty of community. Finally, as the sun began its descent, a gentle knock echoed on the door, filling her with a sweet thrill. She opened it to find familiar faces smiling back at her friends and neighbors drawn together by a shared yearning for something more. Margaret felt a rush of warmth spread through her heart. But what unexpected blessing awaited them in this gathering? Would they step into a transformation that none of them could foresee? As they settled in, the atmosphere thickened with anticipation, each heart holding its own secret motive. Margaret stood at the front, heart pounding, ready to embrace the unknown. In that moment, she realized that every step taken in faith unfolded the potential for spiritual revival. What miracles waited just beyond the awakening of this community? What mysteries would they ultimately uncover together? The room hummed softly, filled with the promise of connection and possibility. Margaret stood before her friends and neighbors, feeling the weight of their expectations merge with her own. Each gaze seemed to search for something deeper, something sacred that spoke to their souls. She took a breath, steadying herself in that moment, and opened her heart wide. "Welcome, everyone," she began, her voice carrying a warmth that silenced the chatter. "Tonight, we gather not just to share a meal, but to witness the beauty of each other's lives. Here we can reveal our truths and celebrate our journeys." Soft murmurs of agreement filled the room, hearts swelling with a hopeful anticipation. Margaret noticed the flutter of hands, the crispness of faces illuminated by the golden light spilling from the windows. She felt a profound sense of purpose filling the space, something beyond her, breathing life into their gathering. "Let us begin with a prayer," she stated, sliding effortlessly into the familiar rhythm of shared faith. Eyes closed gently, she felt the collective energy rise as she invited the Lord to join their fellowship. "Lord, we come before you, seeking connection and understanding. As you gather us under this roof, may we feel your presence in our hearts. Let this night be a canvas for your love." A chorus of amen echoed through the hall, igniting the atmosphere with a divine spark. The warmth of this shared moment knotted them together, weaving bonds thicker than spoken words. Some wiped away tears, while others lifted their heads high, soulfully engaged as they moved into the evening. Laughter filled the air like a sweet melody. Delectable aromas wafted from the hearty meal that lay before them, a testimony to their commitment to nourish both body and spirit. Stories danced between tables like fireflies flickering in the dusk, each revelation a thread that further tethered their hearts. Margaret wandered from group to group, soaking in the stories being shared. One woman, Emily, spoke of her recent loss, her voice quaking but strong. "I felt so alone," she said, eyes glistening. "But somehow, being here tonight, I know I'm not. It's like a balm on my heart." Tears stung at Margaret's eyes as she absorbed the profound truth of Emily's words. The vulnerability rooted in the evening's gathering meant they could nurture one another. Her mind wandered to the unexpected blessings prompted by faith. Every shared story bared fruit, rich in healing and communion. Did they realize the courage it took to gather, to open up? It was a brave step toward transformation, one that could ignite ripples in their community long after this night had faded. When dinner settled and voices softened, Margaret invited those who felt led to share what they had heard, what touched them deeply. One by one, they began to rise, their stories interweaving into a tapestry of shared struggles and joys. "I thought I was the only one," Richard said, voice trembling with emotion. "But tonight, I see we are all journeying together. Thank you for this space to be real." Margaret's heart soared with each testimony of hope, evidence that God was moving among them. As the evening waned, a hush fell over the room. It was as if they were all waiting, collectively aware that something deeper was stirring beneath the surface. What unseen forces had gathered them here? What waves of grace might crash upon their shores as the evening unfolded? With the flicker of candles illuminating their shared vulnerability, Margaret knew this was only the beginning. Where would this sacred thread lead them next? What further revelations awaited in the days to come? The room settled into a profound silence, as if the very air held its breath, waiting for the profound to unfold. Margaret gazed around, caught in the tender interplay of light and shadow. She could see the flicker of spirits igniting with hope, illuminating their hearts in ways unseen. It was a moment laden with expectation, where faith intertwined with reality, much like the tapestry they had just begun to weave together. "Let us take a moment," Margaret suggested, her voice soft but commanding. "Close your eyes and breathe in this space. Let us feel the heartbeat of our gathering." As the group complied, the atmosphere transformed. The drumming of anxiety in some chests slowed, and the burdens they carried began to lift. In that stillness, whispers of the divine mingled with their thoughts. It was here they found sanctuary, a haven where fears surrendered to the promise of divine providence. Margaret felt a gentle nudge in her spirit. Was there a message waiting to be shared? A truth unspoken? Her heart raced as an overwhelming sense of urgency took hold. I believe God is calling us for more. Not just tonight, but in our everyday lives. A soft murmur traveled through the gathering, a ripple of intrigue and curiosity. It was a truth they were ready to embrace, yet hesitant to fully grasp. She continued, in the next 40 days, let us commit to seeking a deeper connection. Together, we can dive into the divine purpose He has crafted for each of us. Some exchanged glances, eyes bright with both doubt and hope, while others nodded, welcoming the challenge. This call to action stirred a collective heartbeat that resonated in every soul present. What if, Margaret proposed, her own uncertainty shadowed by her faith, we take turns lifting each other up daily, sharing moments of grace, whether it's through a message, a prayer, or a simple act of kindness. The idea echoed through the room, unfolding like petals on blossoming flowers. It was a challenge wrapped in love, an opportunity to practice the very essence of their faith. One by one, voices chimed in, affirming the plan. Each commitment became a thread, a binding promise that would weave them closer in the coming days. Let us not forget, Emily spoke up, her voice steady now, this isn't just about our own journeys. It's about embracing the stories yet to be told, the struggles yet to be shared. It's a miracle waiting to happen. In that moment, the attendees felt the rise of excitement swell within them, the promise of transformation. Their dedication refocused their hearts, directing their intentions toward action, prayer, and communion. As each person felt the weight of a glorious purpose envelop them, there was a growing realization that divine blessings might just thrive in their willingness to serve one another. Then Margaret sensed a rippling peace wash over the gathering. They were not merely sharing a meal, nor were they just exchanging stories. No, they were on the precipice of something much bigger, a movement fueled by faith. But as the candles flickered low, and the murmur of excitement washed over them, a question hung lightly in the air. What miracles would unfold in those 40 days? How would their hearts transform in search of sacred purpose? Each person left that night with possibilities blooming in their hearts. But would they be ready for the changes that awaited them, and the divine surprises God had tucked just around the corner? The sun crested the horizon the next morning, casting soft, golden rays that danced through the open windows, spilling warmth over the gathering of friends. Margaret rose earlier than usual, her heart still ignited by the powerful moment they shared. She felt a renewed sense of purpose, a calling vibrating in her spirit, urging her to embrace the day with intentionality. As she prepared her morning cup of tea, she replayed the thoughts from last night, contemplating the commitments made. The 40-day journey loomed ahead, a canvas yet unpainted. Margaret sensed the weight of what lay before them, the potential for transformation that echoed in her heart. Outside, the world continued its rhythm. The chirping of birds and the rustling of branches were like a symphony, harmonizing with the pulse of her anticipation. She felt a deep connection not only to her dear friends but to the greater story God was weaving through their lives. It was a vibrant reminder that they were part of something magnificent. One thought lingered, an invitation to go deeper. How would she lift her friends up today? What small act, what whisper of grace could break through the dreariness of everyday life, nudging each heart closer to their divine purpose? With a renewed determination, Margaret penned notes for each of her companions, simple words of encouragement sprinkled with scriptures that spoke of hope and strength. She prayed over them, asking God to guide her in conveying His love in tangible ways. Gathered in a cozy kitchen that evening, they shared a simple meal. The atmosphere hummed with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Each person bore the marks of the challenge they had embraced. Emily, seated to Margaret's right, was the first to share. I woke up with a heavy heart this morning, she began, her voice quivering slightly. I almost didn't come tonight, but then I remembered our commitment. I've been thinking about my grandmother. She always used to say, If you have the ability to lift someone's spirit, you must do it. So, I called her, and just hearing her voice brought such peace. Tears glimmered in her eyes, and the room held its breath. That simple act of outreach had not only transformed Emily's day but radiated warmth among them all. They were witnessing the power of connection in real time. Next, David spoke up. I took a walk today, feeling lost in my thoughts. Then, I saw a stranger struggling to carry groceries. I offered to help her, and she smiled so wide it was like I could see the weight lift from her shoulders. A ripple of laughter mingled with the air, creating a thread of shared humanity that wrapped around them like a warm blanket. Margaret leaned forward, encouraged by their stories and emboldened by their willingness to share openly. These moments aren't just coincidences, she said, her voice rising with fervor. Each act of kindness shines a light on the love God has for us and for those around us. The evening wore on with unfolding stories of courage and grace, bonding them together in a sacred rhythm of trust and prayer. Each moment they shared whispered of divine orchestration, revealing glimpses of God's bigger plan. With every commitment to uplift one another, the group became vessels of divine love, ready to embrace all that awaited them. But as they enjoyed laughter and fellowship, a notion crept into their hearts, a flicker of awe accompanied by a hint of trepidation. What miraculous acts of faith would they embark on next? How would God surprise them as they delved into His sacred purpose over the next 39 days? As they gathered for prayer, the air thickened with expectancy. What would unfold in their lives, as divine confirmations awaited their courage to act? The 39th day dawned, wrapping Hawthorne in a gentle golden glow. Margaret felt renewed in spirit, the anticipation of what awaited her and her community pulsing in her veins. Each day had been a testament to the miracles of connection, and now, as she prepared to gather her friends one last time, she couldn't contain the bubbling excitement in her heart. The chapel was adorned with flowers, their vibrant colors echoing the laughter and life shared over the past weeks. Margaret busied herself, recalling how each moment had woven a tapestry of divine encounters, quiet conversations that had lifted spirits, and heartfelt prayers that had deepened faith. The warmth in her chest intensified as the thought of their combined journey filled her mind. As the hour approached, familiar faces began to fill the chapel. Margaret greeted each person with open arms, embracing the palpable energy that grew with every addition to their gathering. Conversations flew among them like excited birds, hearts beating as one, a chorus of lifelong friends and newfound companions. Once everyone settled, she looked out at the crowd, expectant eyes shining with curiosity and shared experience. She cleared her throat, a gentle hush falling over the room. Tonight we come full circle together in faith. Each of you has played a vital part in this journey, reminding us of our sacred purpose through connection and love. A murmur of agreement echoed like a warm tide, washing over her heart. Margaret felt the invisible threads binding them together and took a breath, summoning her courage. Let us reflect on our past 39 days together. What transformations have you experienced? What revelations have surfaced in your hearts? One by one, they shared their stories, each voice knitting the fabric of a community reborn. Emily spoke first, revealing how her grandmother's wisdom had inspired her to reach out beyond her comfort zone. I discovered that love isn't just a feeling. It's action. The stepping into someone's life and letting them know they are not alone. A collective sigh of understanding rippled through the congregation. Margaret felt the heartbeat of their unity, each story like a brushstroke painting a larger picture. David, emboldened by the kindness he experienced, declared, I've seen how even the simplest acts can make all the difference. It's like igniting a flame. I want to spread that light far and wide. With every shared memory, the chapel began to buzz with inspiration. The sweet essence of renewal hung in the air, connecting hearts in a sacred embrace. They were all beginning to witness the great tapestry God was weaving, one thread at a time. After the sharing, Margaret felt the pull from within. The stranger's call still echoed, pushing her to take one last leap. What if, she proposed cautiously, we take this challenge even further? Eyes sparkled with intrigue as she continued. In the next 40 days, let us commit ourselves to acts of kindness, serving those in need within our village. What if we shine our light beyond these walls and into the community? A harmonious chorus of yes filled the room, and Margaret felt the thrill of shared purpose scintillating around her, a clarity rising above the worries she once had. A feeling larger than herself enveloped the gathering, almost tangible in its warmth. With the pastor's guidance, they spent the final moments in fervent prayer, each soul touching the divine, surrendering to the beautiful dance that awaited them. As they concluded, Margaret felt her heart swell. The stranger's words resonated within her, and she glanced towards the window at the deepening twilight sky. The purpose you seek is found not just in the healing of your body, he had said, but in the transformation of your spirit. And now, in this sacred culmination, she grasped the fullness of his promise. She was not merely leading her friends, she was co-creating an awakening that brushed the very essence of existence itself. As she stepped out of the chapel that night, Margaret's spirit soared higher than ever before. The journey was vastly more than individual healing. It was a collective blossoming, a community rising in love and faith. With hope filling the horizon, she felt ready for the next chapter, one that would lead her on a path marked by divine encounters and boundless love. As she looked at the faces that surrounded her, she couldn't wait to discover what life would bring them all in the days ahead. Miracles were layered everywhere, they just needed eyes and hearts willing to see them. And now, dear friends, we invite you to step straight into your own miracles. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories that are waiting just for you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let others witness these beautiful transformations. Comment with your reactions and personal testimonies about this incredible ending, so we can all celebrate together. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of faith and connection among us. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second. Let us spread these messages of hope across the world. Truly, only servants of God understand the importance of uplifting one another through these sacred actions.